In order to manifest your desired reality, you must sacrifice someone you love. Because the mechanics of the universe operate in such a manner that in order for you to get to that next level, you must be willing to give something up. And that's exactly why you're still stuck. You're stuck in what I call the maze of manifestation, meaning that no matter how many corners you turn on your path, you just feel this massive wall of resistance in front of you. And it's like no matter what you do, no matter what you try, you just can't seem to find the exit to that maze. Now, you generally want the same things as everybody else. You want more money, you want more success, more confidence, more freedom, more love, etc. And the harder you try to make these things happen, the further they get from you. And that is deeply frustrating at a soul level. And you just want a solution already. You want that breakthrough. Now, if that's you, my friend, I can tell you without a doubt in my mind that the universe is calling you to sacrifice someone that you should have a long time ago. And this is exactly why my clients get such exceptional results. The conscious entrepreneurs and creators that work with me were willing to do what very few others will in order to initiate themselves into the most powerful frequency that they've ever been in before. Because reality is a game of frequency first and logic second. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you what this specifically is so that way you can finally have the breakthrough you've been so desperately searching for. Now, all of that being said, if you thought that this was going to be some like weird Illuminati ritual shit, get off my channel, you freaks, because that's not what this is at all. So your grandma's safe. You don't have to do like some weird, if you've ever seen Naruto where Sasuke gives himself to the Dark Lord Orochimaru in order to unlock this like demonic power kind of thing in order for him to become powerful. This isn't like that at all. This is softer. This is more resonant with you being a human. And this is really just recognition and connection to the divine laws that govern this reality. And that there is a sacrifice though. There is someone that has been holding you back. There is someone that's been getting in the way of you seeing the reality clearly and being able to approach your unique experience from a place of power, from a place of confidence, and simply just flowing into that next level. And that person is you. The person you must sacrifice is yourself. Now, more specifically, it's your old self. And this is the person that is misaligned with your highest reality. Because like I said before, you generally want the same things as most people. Whether you're super spiritual or not, and you don't really care about spirituality and you're just like a 3D human NPC kind of person, everybody kind of wants the same things. Everybody wants more money, more success, more freedom, more love, more confidence. They want to be appreciated. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be held and seen by a community of people that really respect them, and add all of your desires onto this list of things that you want. We all want those things. Like nobody out here is waking up on any given day and saying, boy, I wish I had less money. I wish I was less loved. I wish I was less confident. That's not happening. And if it is, then you got some mental problems. Maybe you need to be my client so we can sort that out. But ultimately, everybody kind of wants the same things no matter how spiritual you are. Now, if you know anything about me and my version of spirituality, if you want like some vegan Jesus sandals, like tree hugging person, just click off of this channel also, because my spirituality is something I refer to as range. I can be loving and light and forgiving and play in this dimension from a place of like carefree, childlike attitude, but I'm also ruthless and intentional and very pragmatic with how I approach it. Because again, it's like as multidimensional as we are 3D humans trying to make sense of this chaotic experience of what it means to be a human and whatnot. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Ultimately, the version of you that needs to be let go is your old self. And that really is the question that you have at the top of your mind. Whenever anybody gets into anything like manifestation or spirituality related, is they want to know how they can go from point A to point B. From a version of reality where they're at right now, where they're less confident, they're stifled. It's already spelling that wrong. They're nervous to be themselves. They don't feel safe. Maybe they're broke, lonely. To a version of reality where they feel powerful, where they feel clear, where they feel energetic, where they have wealth, not just the wealth of finances, but the wealth of health, the wealth of love and relationships, where they feel like they belong somewhere. That's really the question that people have. How do they get from point A to point B? And in order for you to facilitate this transformation, what you have to understand is that your entire experience of reality is a mental projection of what you think and feel to be true about it. Now, if that's the case and you find yourself in experiences that are less reflective of the abundance, the wealth, the success, the confidence, that means the projection that you're putting out right now doesn't match that reality. And so you may be either unconsciously or consciously projecting fear, limitation, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, depression, resentment, and the list goes on and on. This is the frequency that you are radiating. That's the frequency that you're putting out, and you get what you give. And so ultimately, we can even change the definition around the word sacrifice here, because sacrifice can mean like the old religious term of like cutting off a chicken and presenting it to God and whatnot. We're not in barbaric times anymore. I'm going to take the definition of more just offering up these parts of yourself. Really what you're being called to do here, and anybody who is interested in transcending timelines into a version of reality that is more reflective of what they prefer, is you have to let go and cut off the parts of you that aren't aligned with that power, that don't think and feel from the version of you that is already where you want to be. Because that's ultimately how you shift from realities and circumstances of limitation into realities of confidence and power and abundance. Write this down and remember this forever is you have to think and feel as if you were already there. And that's the problem right now. That's the part of you that needs to be cut out, and you have to start to think and feel from the version of reality you want to live in. For example, let's say you want to make, I don't know, let's take a very small number. Let's say you want to make $100,000 per month, and you've never even been close to that. And you're disgruntled about your respective reality, and you think you live in limitation. You're not sure how to actually facilitate that for yourself. You have to, let's pretend here, let's go into the imaginary space here. Let's think about this from the highest levels of spirituality. Let's say you woke up tomorrow and that was your reality, that you were making 100K per month comfortably, smoothly, no problems, no issues. How would that version of you deal with your current challenges and your current circumstance? Would that version of you who it runs a powerful business, who's a tremendous leader, an effective communicator, someone who is able to navigate the resistance that they might be feeling, how would that version of you show up right now? They would show up completely differently. And that's the gap here. That's the gap that you're missing. And that's ultimately going to answer the question of like, how do you get from point A to point B? Is you have to think and feel from the version of you who's already at that next level. Because remember, this reality is a game of frequency first and physical action and logic second. And so you have to radiate this frequency and start to tune into this version of you who is already at the level that you want to be, because you will never solve your current problems from the level that you mentally created them. The reason you have so much resistance right now, while you feel like nothing is going your way, is because right now your frequency is riddled with low-level thinking, low-level feeling, and you love it. You're addicted to that frequency. Most people are. People that are stuck in low frequencies are addicted to it. And when they start to transition into higher and higher frequencies, you've probably had this experience before where you look back at like some of your past limitations or how you felt about certain things, and you're just like, man, I couldn't even see straight. I couldn't even see clearly. Almost like a drug addict. A drug addict or an alcoholic or something, until they get off of the alcohol or the drugs, they don't realize how misaligned they are. They don't realize how off they were, how off balance they were. And it's kind of the same thing here from a perspective of looking at your business and your life, quality of life, and looking at your success in and of itself. You'll get to that level and you'll realize, oh wow, it was very clear to me. It's like hindsight is 20/20. It was very clear how I was misaligned. And so what I'm telling you and calling you to do right now, and really what your universe is calling you to do, is to start to look at the aspects of you that are misaligned from the version of reality in which you already have what you want. Because again, it's like the version of you who is successful, who is confident, who is loved, they show up totally different to their current circumstances. And that for you is the path of least resistance to getting to that next level. You have infinite paths, and you are an infinite creator. And as an infinite creator who has the frequency of God embodied, you have the power to create anything it is that you want. Maybe you don't even believe that right now, but that is the truth. And really this entire process of remembrance is not necessarily to learn anything new. I have nothing new to teach you. All I'm doing here is helping you remember who you actually are at your core. Because at our core, we are all connected to God. We are all just individual expressions of the unique source of consciousness that all of us are connected to, like little droplets of the ocean. We are all connected to the same ocean of consciousness. We are just vibrating at different frequencies, which gives us the illusion that we are separate beings, but we are not separate beings. And what this knowledge does for you is recognize the energetic nature and the mechanics of the universe to be able to transcend your current limitations into confidence, clarity, and freedom. It's all a choice. And this entire process of letting go of your old self creates space for the new version, the new identity you are embodying to come online. And that version of you handles your current reality differently. And when you handle your current reality differently, you get different results. That really is the process of manifestation. And I want you to write this down and remember this forever, is that manifestation is not it's not about getting something you don't deserve. It's about being neutral to your current reality. It's about transitioning your frequency, your mental and emotional and spiritual alignment to be in such a state of alignment with the reality you prefer that you show up to your current circumstances neutrally. You don't react. You don't emotionally react to the fact that your bank account is empty. You don't emotionally react to the fact that things aren't going your way. In fact, you transition so well that you're grateful. You're grateful for these challenges and for these obstacles and for these setbacks to show up on your journey because it's giving you an opportunity to practice resourcefulness. If you want the real definition of what being an expert in manifestation is and what it looks like in pragmatic terms, it's simply resourcefulness. Your ability to get resourceful is going to greatly determine the quality of your life. Now, the thing is, the current version of you or the past version of you doesn't know how to be resourceful. The past version of you takes every little setback and challenge as a personal indication of who you are, meaning that you're not good enough, or you're not tall enough, or you don't have a luscious beard like I do, so you don't look like a Viking in a sense, or you don't have this luscious bald head, so that's why you're not manifesting what you desire. It's total BS. Like, all of your limitations are a bunch of nonsense. False evidence appearing real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. What you're really being called to do is to practice resourcefulness, because that's really like the energy of manifestation. It's recognizing that there are infinite possibilities, and your ability to call in the experiences that are more reflective of what you prefer is dependent upon the options you execute, the strategies you use, the ability to practice the art of discernment so you can recognize which strategies and options aren't aligned for you, so you can execute on the ones that are aligned, that do allow you to share your genius and share your confidence with the world. Does that make sense? And so ultimately, resourcefulness is about being able to execute on all the different options, angles, and opportunities you have at your disposal to create the foundation for more. And when you embody that frequency on a long enough time horizon, the natural result, the inevitable result, is that you become more successful. You become more grounded and peaceful. Your nervous system relaxes, and you just have the energy to go execute in the physical world. Remember, frequency first and physical action second. Now, why is it so difficult to do that? Because you sort of know that on some level, right? But it still feels confusing. It still feels like you're in this maze of manifestation. You're like, what the hell's going on? I can appreciate that. I've been there a million different times myself. And so what you're being called to do is not necessarily to like get into higher states, right? Like, if you see a lot of these like spiritual gurus out here that are telling you manifest by meditation, like you need to meditate for 15 hours a day and then do the crystal meditation and all, it's like a bunch of nonsense. Here's what you're actually being called to do. I'm erasing the iPad here. If you'll entertain me here for a second. You know, a lot of times like people think it's like, if you ever listen to like the Hulsa gurus that are like, you can't watch TV or anything like that. It's like, I don't know, I'm watching TV. I'm out here like watching anime, watching like Family Guy and South Park and whatnot. It's like, You really start to make your own rules for your own life as you embody what you think is good. It's really what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to trust yourself and trust that everything is happening exactly as it needs to. You're not out of time. That's all 2025. Right now, we're in 2036. We're in 2036 right now. What you're being called to do is not necessarily to reach higher states so you can levitate off the ground and be like a spiritual guru. Here's what you're actually being called to do. You're being called to reset your frequency, to return to your normal state of functioning, to remember that you are God in human form. And I have a story about this. It's a really interesting story. Back in I used to be one of the lead assistants for like one of the biggest dating coaches in the world. And one of the programs that they would essentially do is they predominantly worked with men. They used to have like some female clients, but they would predominantly work with men. And they would take them out to these nightclubs and, help them approach girls, because a lot of them were just so nervous to talk to girls that they would like shake, when they were talking to a pretty girl like at a bar or at a lounge or something like that. So they would take these men out and like make them approach girls. And there was this one particular guy, and I'll never forget this, I don't remember his name, but we were in Vegas for a boot camp. And really interesting guy, he starts talking and he tells us his story. And I'll come back to the story in a second, but there was like 20 different men on this boot camp. He was the one that all the girls loved him. They were approaching him, trying to get his phone number. Like he would leave the Vegas club, like go upstairs with the girls and then come back down like some like degenerate shit, right? And wasn't good looking, like he was tall and skinny, but he wore like really wrinkly clothes and didn't have like a groomed beard and had like messy hair, was wearing like New Balance shoes. And yet he was the one that was like pulling the most girls. And if you see him, you wouldn't think that that was going to be the case. But what was like his unique story? So it turns out, I'm watching this happen. I'm just like, who is this guy, right? So it turns out, so he's a successful inventor. He's very rich. He was in like his late 30s. And it turns out that like 10, 15 years ago, he got into like this car accident that damaged his brain. And he lost all of his long-term memory, had to like learn to read and write again, had to learn to talk, had to learn to like walk and whatnot. But because of this, he had zero limitations. It was like a child, like a blank slate. He was a blank slate, so he had no fears, he had no societal programming. So he was a really weird and awkward and quirky guy, but it like unlocked a level of genius that wasn't there before because he doesn't remember his entire past. And so, maybe that's a program that I'll run here in the future where I'll bonk you on the head and you lose your memory and you just like start from a blank slate. But essentially, in a way that he didn't plan, I'm kidding, by the way, don't hit me up to like bonk you on the head. I don't need a lawsuit coming my way. But ultimately, that's sort of a very clear picture of what it means to reset your frequency. It's to get so clear on what were the parts of you that were misaligned and to just stop consenting to them. To start to operate and think and feel from a version of reality where you are abundant, you are successful. And so what looks unrealistic to most people is very realistic to you. The same way that this one client, you would never think he'd be like a very confident, charismatic guy, and yet everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to be his friend. Girls wanted to take him out on dates and whatnot. And so that is the same version of reality that you're being called into. And it starts with resetting your frequency, because your frequency is a combination, a culmination, like an equation of your beliefs, your emotions, your thoughts, your mental attitudes, and the actions that you take. These components together create your vibration, and your vibration determines your experience of reality and the results you get. Now, the reason you're not getting the results that you desire is because your frequency is misaligned. So you are being called to reset. Said differently, think of yourself like a computer, not the alarms. Think of yourself as a computer, because your brain really is programmed the same way a software coding program is coded. And so this software, like a computer, when a computer is bogged down with viruses because you're watching videos that you shouldn't, some X-rated videos, and your computer is bogged down with all these different viruses and malware, you can't use the computer. Like the computer stops functioning. But if you clear the space, if you clear the malware, all of a sudden it returns to its normal state of functioning. And in that first moment where you finally clear all those viruses, you're just like, oh my gosh, it finally works again. Because you were so used to it not being able to load pages or download other things, and you are no different. The reason that you are so limited in your experience and your mental bandwidth and even your intellect is because your frequency is tainted with things like guilt and shame. You have guilt and shame that are preventing you from seeing through reality clearly. And if you look at any of the work from people like David Hawkins, the negative emotions of guilt, shame, resentment, fear, all these different things, keep you in a limited state of reality. And so the guilt and shame can come from very many different aspects of reality. It can come from societal programming saying that you need to be this type of person, you need to go to school, get good grades, get a job. And if you don't do those things, then you're considered a loser or not societally acceptable. Or if you don't have a strong physique, that means you're not desirable. Or if you're not rich and famous and successful, then your life isn't worthwhile. And all these different expectations get piled onto you, and it cuts you off from thinking in terms of your divine frequency. Because remember, you are not separate from God. You are connected to God in this moment right now. Even religions do this. In order for you to communicate with God, you need to follow this one specific, I'm not gonna write Bible. You need to follow this one specific sacred text. And anything outside of this sacred text is demonic and the devil and all these different things. And you're going to hell because you're a sinner. All of that just piles guilt and shame on top of you. So what this does is it causes you to think in smaller terms. It causes you to feel even guilty about being alive as a human. It causes you to question your desires because now you feel guilty about wanting them in the first place. And so what you're doing here as you let go of these emotions, let go of these old frequencies and these old patterns, is it's not that you're getting to these like states where you like levitate off the ground. What's actually going on here is you are returning to your natural and normal state of functioning because you're an infinite creator. And as an infinite creator, you have access to infinite possibility. There are many different paths for you to get to that next level. There are many different strategies for success in business. There are many different people that you'll meet along your journey that will help you to accelerate your progress on your business, on your goals, on your desires. But the thing is, because you are cut off from that frequency, you can't see reality that way. And one of the things I've always told people that really gets them to like think about this and shift their perspective so that they can start to think in the most abundant and confident ways is to realize that you are 1 degree of separation from everything you desire. You're 1 degree of separation from everything you desire. And what I mean by this is it not possible that, I don't know, you post a video, just one singular video on social media and it goes viral and all of a sudden you have like all these new opportunities unlocked? Of course that's possible. Is it not possible that you walk down the street in your city and you happen to bump into someone on the street and you guys strike up a conversation and they turn out to be, I moved the camera. They turn out to be some kind of investor that invests in your business? Of course that's possible. Is it not possible that you go to like a cafe to order a coffee and you start talking to the person behind you and it turns out that they're your soulmate and now you just met your future wife or your future husband? Of course that is possible, but you will never access those possibilities if you don't view your reality like a playground. You see, the biggest thing that separates people from the version of reality they want to live in is they think that they need to prove themselves. They think that reality is a battlefield, another pendulum, another societal program. They think that they need to get lucky. They think that they need to be born into a rich family, that they need to be exceptionally tall or good looking, or insert all the lists of stereotypes that people impose on their world. But that's not actually you. Think about that. Those societal conditionings and those societal programmings aren't you because they're cut off from the reality of that. You have infinite possibility. You can literally create anything you desire. And when you start to play in those parameters of reality, beautiful manifestations are the byproduct of you embodying your most powerful frequency. And your most powerful frequency isn't something to get to, you're already there. That's really the whole point here, is recognizing that the old version of yourself, your old paradigms, once completely eliminated out of your perspective of reality, the true parts of you, the parts of you that are aligned to your confidence, your power, your authenticity, the version of you that is massively successful in all aspects of life, start to come online. And you start to think differently about your current challenges, which allows for the universe to start to organize around this new frequency that you're in, which brings in greater opportunities, greater ideas, greater levels of execution that give you what you desire. Are you starting to understand this entire process of ascension, this entire process of initiation? It's recognizing and realizing that you're already there. That's why, if you even go back like earlier in this video, I wrote there with quotation marks, because the truth is you're already there. And what you're being called to do is just to remain in a state of gratitude and neutrality for the entire process as you take your mind off of the result and being frustrated that you're not where you want to be already. Oftentimes, a lot of times, especially with like the conscious entrepreneurs and creators that I work with, the biggest thing that stops them from being able to execute long term is the fact that they are so frustrated with the fact that they're not there. And so they think that they're behind, they think that they are doing everything wrong, and that's simply not the case. It's like playing the game, if you ever played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's a very open world game. I got the Master Sword. If you look on the camera behind me, I have a Master Sword behind me. Why? Because I treat my life like a video game. And in the game Breath of the Wild, or even the other one, Tears of the Kingdom, it's like there really is no set path. You can kind of pick whatever dungeon you want to go to first. You can kind of handle it. You can literally go straight to the boss battle at the beginning of the game, especially in Breath of the Wild, and fight Ganon. You can fight Ganondorf at the end. It's only like the speedrunners actually know how to beat it. It's pretty tough if you have like no items and whatnot. But that's kind of how reality is too. It's like you can literally do whatever you want on your own terms. So, as a matter of fact, a lot of times video games provide much more wisdom and depth than even books can. Another good game, Legend of Zelda, the Ocarina of Time, the Trinity, right? In the same way that Christianity talks about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in Zelda there's power, courage, and wisdom, right? And then there's the three stones you get from the Nehru and Farore and Din. You get the three different stones that are also emblematic of mind, body, and soul, mind, body, spirit. There's some ancient wisdom going on. Actually, I might, if you guys want ancient wisdom from like things, unconventional sources like that, like Legend of Zelda, drop that into the comments. I was thinking about doing either like a Legend of Zelda Secret Wisdom kind of vibe. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that. And so, okay, so frequency reset. Now, from a place of a reset frequency, now you start to consider that there is infinite possibility or 1 degree of separation from the reality that you desire. So what do you do from here? The third part of this process, part 1 is cut off the old self. Part number 2 is reset your frequency. Part number 3 is plant new seeds. And when you plant seeds, you must be patient with results. Because oftentimes, an impatient frequency is really afraid that results won't show up. That's the only reason people are impatient with their process, is that they, unconscious or even a conscious level, they aren't trusting of the universe. They aren't trusting of themselves. They feel that they need to see an instant reflection of their manifestation because they don't trust that on a long enough time horizon, they will have the breakthrough that they're looking for. And the thing is, when you plant seeds, if you're impatient with the growth of the seed and you start to overwater it or give it too much sunlight, what happens to the seed? The seed dies. If you give a seed too much water, you give the seed too much sunlight, it never actually grows into a plant. And this is very different from like a lot of the manifestation coaches that you'll see. A lot of these like manifestation, I call them spiritual performers, will tell you that if you just write it down, it's gonna happen overnight, like that type of thing, like the law of attraction thing. But ultimately, really what it requires, the only watering you give it is patience. Because especially for the seeds that are going to bear you the most fruit, it takes time for them to manifest in your reality. Why? Well, it's because reality operates as a mirror. And the mirror won't smile until you do. And being disgruntled when reality isn't reflecting what you want is as nonsensical as looking in a mirror and seeing a frown and being frustrated that there's a frown. of course it's not going to smile until you do. And so the only difference between looking in an actual mirror and as it relates to you manifesting the results you want out of your business, out of your life, is that there is a time delay. Meaning that you can smile in the mirror and it still may show a frown, but over time, when you sustain that higher frequency, it must change. And this right here is why patience is such an important attribute and quality to embody. Because if you become impatient and disgruntled and frustrated and self-judgmental and self-critical and hyper-analytical, trying to look at every little minor detail and seeing how you're off or you're off track or you feel like you're out of time, you feel like God hasn't blessed you because you don't deserve it, whatever the case is, you're going to interrupt the frequency of which your manifestations will come to you through the path of least resistance. And that's the thing about this entire spiritual conversation, is that people like to, and they do this intentionally because they're just trying to market to you. They do this intentionally where they try to make it seem like you're just gonna explode to this next level and everything's going to work out perfectly, when ultimately everything is already working out perfectly. And the more that you go for mastery, self-mastery, spiritual mastery, which is the highest form of mastery in this human dimension, in this third dimension, the more that you honor and acknowledge that version and that expression of yourself, physical reality tends to sort itself out. Physical reality is the reflection of what you spiritually and mentally believe to be true. And so instead of being disgruntled and frustrated the fact that you're still in a maze, just relax. Like there's this movie with Bruce Lee where he gets stuck in these doors and he's running away from an enemy. He's trying to, it looks like he's in some kind of a maze and two doors close in on him. He's stuck inside this box. Instead of panicking and freaking out and oh my gosh, like jumping, trying to drill a hole in the wall or something, what does he do instead? He sits down and he meditates and he quiets his mind and he lets go of his fears in those moments and he goes into a state of meditation. Because anytime you're in a state of anxiety, you most certainly will not have the best and most optimal outcomes come to you. Why? Because you're being impatient. Why? Because you're radiating a frequency that you don't trust the world and trust reality. I want you to write this down and remember this forever, that is exactly what confidence is. Confidence isn't about being loud or obnoxious or taking up room or having all the answers readily available to you. Confidence is self-trust. And the deeper you trust yourself, and by virtue of this, your universe, the faster reality smiles at you. Are you starting to understand this entire perspective? Are you really getting clear on how you're not doing this in your own reality? Because that really is my goal for you. My goal for you is to start to honor and acknowledge the parts of you that have been misaligned with this version of reality, where you feel grateful, you feel confident, and your natural authenticity comes through. Because when you use that frequency in your business, in your relationships, in your lives, in how you go about your connection to reality, it completely changes everything. The results you desire become the natural byproduct of who you are. Because reality and the universe will not deny a master of reality. It will not deny someone who is in such a powerful frequency that they are carefree as they are intentional. But that's the thing, when you desire something, you have so much attachment to it that you create expectation, and that expectation is what makes you feel impatient and frustrated when things don't go your way. And so you interpret delays and setbacks and challenges as evidence that you're doing something wrong, instead of receiving them as just feedback and just guidance to flow with reality. And the more you flow with reality, the wave of good fortune takes over and carries you into circumstances that are so abundant, fruitful, and rewarding that your current reality, you can't even consider them and perceive them in your current reality. This is why the old frequency needs to be cut off, because the highest frequency that you are in thinks and feels completely differently. And the more that you think and feel through your reality from that perspective, things just work out. That's why self-mastery and spiritual mastery is counterintuitively the best business strategy. Because someone who is a master of reality, doesn't matter what strategy they deploy on their business, everything works. Everything starts to flow. That's why strategies don't matter. This is why like all of those hustle grifters and gurus that are telling you they have the one secret strategy that's going to blow up your business. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Unless they are teaching you to listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, master yourself from deeper and more godlike perspectives and ways, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's even destroying the stereotype that you need to work hard to be successful. Needing to work hard to be successful is like, that's like saying, I don't know, what would you say? That's like saying you need to breathe as a human. Of course you're going to work hard. The only reason, so working hard isn't necessarily like the, the answer. The only reason you feel averse to working hard, or the only reason you can't work hard, because a lot of you probably would work hard if you were in an aligned frequency. The only reason you can't work hard is because you're doing shit that doesn't actually align for you. You're working jobs and surrounded by people that suck. You're doing things that don't really align with your soul, so you can't work hard at it because you have no energy. It's all an energy. It's literally all an energetic game, because when you have a powerful frequency, every strategy you deploy hits. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting down with like high-level entrepreneurs and I show them like my business and how it works, and they're just like, what? Like, how does that make any sense? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Because it doesn't make sense to them because they are not me. It makes perfect sense to me and it works for me. I'm a reality bending entity. You are no different. You're a conscious soul. You're a conscious creator. You see reality differently. And you're being called, the universe is being called for you to honor and acknowledge that, which your old self couldn't. Your old self couldn't because it was bogged down by all of these programmings, all of these traumas, everyone that told you you can't, everyone that told you you're not worthy or that's unrealistic. Reality is unrealistic when you are in the frequency of God. And most people won't understand this. Most people, it just doesn't compute. And that's fine. That's okay. They have their own path. But you're being called to surrender those frequencies and separate yourself. Look at that sign behind me. The sign says not for everyone. My channel, my YouTube channel, my content is not for everyone. Working with me is not for everyone. My businesses are not for everyone. And you are no different. It doesn't say for the masses. If it said for the masses, this would be a totally different kind of video. It doesn't say, oh, for the spiritual performers, the spiritual theatrics, meditate your way to abundance, work hard to abundance. No, it says not for everyone, because I know I'm not for everyone. And just like they say, and this is actually like a sound marketing principle, is that if you market to everyone, then you actually market to no one. And you're the same way. You don't want to be for everyone. The only reason that you've been playing into that frequency, the only reason you've been playing into that societal pendulum is because you haven't felt safe in being yourself. You have a fear of being seen. You have a fear of saying exactly what's on your mind with zero emphasis on what people think or say about you. You're so worried about being judged that you can't actually speak your mind authentically. And when you start to speak your mind authentically, you start to find the right people, the right friends, the right business associates, the right collaborators who are on that same journey with you. And when all of these people come together, when you have a strong team of people surrounding you that are on that same path, that are on that same vibe of just being their most unapologetic selves, beautiful things start to happen. That's exactly what the conscious economy is. The conscious economy is a space where spiritually aligned entrepreneurs and creators are rising into levels of wealth, success, abundance, influence, all the things that the collective consciousness needs to elevate in its relationship to the world. And you are being called to step forward and share that powerfully in whatever business you have, whether you have like a regular products and service business, or you're like a speaker or a content creator, whatever the case might be, you're being called to inject this authentic frequency into it. A lot of my clients run like regular businesses. They solar entrepreneurs, or they run software businesses, or they work for tech companies, or they're doctors. Many of my clients are doctors. Some of my clients also do really creative things, like they are speakers. If you ever seen one of my good friends and client alumni, his name is Kaizen Asiadu. You've probably seen him on Instagram. Elon Musk was retweeting him because he brings a conscious perspective to something very polarizing, which is politics. He's been on Piers Morgan. He's been on Jubilee, which is that channel that they bring on. It's like those liberals that sit in those like circle and they like roast the liberals, like clash with each other. They do like a lot of political and polarizing topics. He's been on that, not on the 20v1, but like different debates and whatnot. He has millions of followers on social media because of these principles that I showed him, that revealed to him what he's actually here to do. And that is what the conscious economy is about. It is about going into the spaces that never really honored or acknowledged this conscious perspective before, and then penetrating that from a place of being ruthless and intentional with what you are creating while also honoring who you are from a spiritual perspective. That's what the conscious economy is about. If you're one of those people and you want to work with me directly, you can find a link somewhere here on this YouTube video in the description to apply to work with me. But in any case, the fourth part of this is that, so now that you're starting to reprogram this relationship with yourself and you're eliminating the parts of you that don't serve you. And you have undergone the initiation process of resetting your frequency so that you can return to your natural and normal state of functioning, because your nervous system is relaxed now, your mind and soul are aligned to the version of reality that you intend to live in. And you start planting new seeds that are more reflective of that abundant reality. Seeds of wealth, seeds of confidence, seeds of love, seeds of connection, seeds of gratitude, because you're so grateful for everything, the highs and the lows, the fortunate aspects of reality and the misfortunate aspects of reality. What this activates within your respective experience is something called synchronicity. And synchronicity is the universe's way of saying, keep going. This is for you. Follow the breadcrumbs, of excitement. Because anytime you are walking the path that is meant for you, little pieces of guidance, little pieces of genius will start to come online. And synchronicity is the organizing principle of the universe, because when you are unapologetically going after what you want in reality, there will be people, there will be ideas, there will be strategies, there will be skill sets that come online in your experience that provide you guidance into that next level. And what I said about the principle of 1 degree being that you are 1 degree of separation from everything that you want, that is synchronicity applied. Because what you'll find is that even, let's say, in an entrepreneurial success, a lot of you want to get to that next level in your business where you're making ridiculous amounts of money, infinite income, etc. And oftentimes, the thing about business is that it's a team sport. It really is a team sport. Unless you're gonna live like a hermit in a mountain and like fish all day and like build a cabin or something, you're going to be interacting with people to some degree for the rest of your life. And so even when it comes to business, you have to collaborate with other people. And even from a logical perspective is that you only have 24 hours in a day. And so ideally what you want to do with your business is you want to maximize and give your time to the aspects of it that feel the most aligned, that are also paired up well with your skill sets. And then you outsource and delegate the rest of it, because you will be able to take your business and your venture to that next level if you have the right people on your team. So it's a team sport. And so the right people will start to just drop into your awareness. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, well, I need this one thing done, and like if it doesn't get done this week, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind, man. And then all of a sudden it's just like someone on the internet DMs me, or a personal friend just happened to reach out to me and they like can fulfill on that one specific need that I have. And it's like, boom, oh, you know, thank you, universe. Thank you for helping me out here. And that's the truth, is that as a divine being, the support will show up when you stop expecting it. When you let go of what you think needs to happen. When you relax your mind and surrender to your heart, that is when the ideas, the insights, the intuitions, the inspirations, the right people, the right ideas, the right opportunities start to show up in your reality, because you are operating more from your heart. And write this down and remember it forever, is that manifestation is accessed through the heart. You will not manifest your desired reality if you are cut off from your heart. Because if you're listening to your mind, you're going based off of the old programming, the old structures, the old frequencies that other people imposed upon you. And some of it might be good, but a lot of it doesn't actually fit you. A lot of it is not relevant for you. And what you're being called to do in this moment by sacrificing the old self is to make way for the you that can call your own shots and lead your own life without needing to rely on other people, without needing to rely on the old structures and the old systems that got you to where you are now, but they are not in alignment with where you are going. They do not make sense for the version of reality that you are starting to tune into now, where there's more success, more abundance, more opportunity. And the support from your reality will show up in that manner when you let go of where you expect the breakthrough to happen in the first place. Write this down and remember it forever, like tattoo it on your big forehead like mine. Remember that the breakthrough already happened. You've already broken through to the next level. Think about that. First off, the fact that you even found my channel is evidence that you've broken through, because I am not for everyone. I'm only interested in engaging with the right types of people, the conscious entrepreneurs and creators who are here to create an exceptional reality. So the fact that you landed on my channel, take that as divine influence and divine intelligence coming into your experience to let you know and remind you of the fact that you are on the right path. That's number one. Number two is the fact that the moment that you identify a specific pattern that is getting in your way, it's already healed. You've already healed those patterns, the patterns of limitation, the patterns of self-sabotage, the patterns of feeling like you're so close to the breakthrough, but it's not actually happening. You already broke through. Really, the only reason negative patterns persist even after they're identified is because you're still making an unconscious choice to follow those patterns, to fall into those patterns. For example, let's say you want to be a creator. You want to share content, post content for the world to see, for the world to judge, because you feel like you have something genius to share. And you're not actually following through and doing it because you get to the point where like you create a video and then you like look at the video and your perfectionist mind starts to kick in. You're like, no, I can't share that. No, I can't say this. No, I can't say that. And then you encounter the fact that, oh, I'm doing the thing again. I'm self-sabotaging. I'm falling for perfectionism. I think I should have said this one thing perfectly. I should have said that thing perfectly, etc. And so all the chatter starts to come up and you're unconsciously following that pattern. That's actually a choice. You're making a choice to follow that pattern instead of just being like, send. You know, like ultimately that's really, it's a choice. You're making a choice to let these negative patterns still interrupt you, your clarity, your confidence and frequency. And that's exactly why you're not getting to that next level in your reality. Because if you just send it and then move on to the next thing, creation is the catalyst. As one of the laws of the conscious economy, creation is the catalyst. You think that you need to have every 100 steps figured out for you, your business, your life, and the trajectory that you're on. But all you really need to focus on is that one thing in front of you right now. Because step one, once you satisfy and execute on step one, it unlocks step two, it unlocks step three, then it unlocks step four. One thing at a time, one thing at a time. You can only do one thing at a time anyways. I'm telling you guys, like no one else is gonna break down manifestation in this way where it's just like simple. Like ultimately by the end of this video, it'll just feel like readily obvious and simple what you're supposed to do within your reality itself. And then you just simply follow the breadcrumbs. You follow the excitements, you follow the intuitions, you follow the strategy that you picked. You just take it as far as you can. And then if it's not working anymore or you have some resistance, just change direction a little bit. Like this whole thing isn't complicated. There isn't like some weird secret. I know like sometimes I put this in my content too, like the one secret thing, like the secrets of the ancient Hermetic philosophy, like that type of stuff. It's actually all so simple. It's so simple that you already know it. I'm just reminding you of the fact that you already do. In any case, let go of expectations and allow the synchronicities to guide you. Because the more that you can follow those synchronicities, the more that the support will show up and the more that you'll find that those seeds that you've been planting start to bear fruit. And on that long enough time horizon, when you follow your intuitions and you follow your excitements, beautiful manifestations are experienced. And this is where you'll see people that achieve such a high level of success and a high level of abundance that you're inspired by that. That's a seed that's been planted in front of you saying that, oh, this is for you too. This is the direction that you're being called into. But you would never know that because the old frequencies want you to think that jealousy is bad. Like you can't be jealous of other people because then you start comparing yourself to them. But take the other polarity of what jealousy is. You're seeing something. So there's like some high level shit right here. Whenever you feel jealous or envious of someone else's success, that's not bad. It's actually good. It's your soul seeing a reflection or a version of reality that feels familiar. It feels like an alternate dimension that you have already accessed as well. And it's actually like a sensation of belongingness. It's like a lost puppy that finds its owner and it's just so happy and excited to see them. Have you ever seen those videos before, like on social media, where it's like a dog that finds its owner and the dog's been lost for like a year or something, and it just like remembers them and it starts wagging their tail. At first they're a little bit skeptical, like, wait, do I know this person? That's your soul doing the exact same thing when it sees aspects of reality that feel exciting for you, the abundance, the success, the confidence, the wealth, the intellect, etc. And so, again, these are all synchronicities. Everything that is coming to you in your path is a synchronicity that is guiding you into that next level. And that's ultimately where all the heavy lifting happens. The heavy lifting isn't in working harder, isn't in proving yourself, isn't in earning your place. The heavy lifting is the heavy lifting happens in the spiritual and mental dimension. Because when you're spiritually and mentally aligned with a version of reality that you want to live in, the physical reality becomes child's play. Strategies becomes child's play. Taking action becomes simple. It becomes easy to take action. Encountering resistance and setbacks don't throw you off, because you recognize that resistance and setbacks are opportunities for you to either, number one, deepen self-mastery, or number two, to observe your growth in real time and how resourceful you can be as you execute through reality. And when that is the frequency that you embody, you literally become like Neo from The Matrix. Because in the movie The Matrix, Neo, he realizes that he's the chosen one, and all of a sudden he can go into the Matrix and bend reality. He stops bullets, he can fly, all these different things. Now you might not, don't try to stop a bullet, like don't do that. Like, if anybody on here is gonna try to stop a bullet, you can't sue me. I didn't advocate for that, that was all you. But in the metaphorical sense, is you start to fly as you glide through reality. You start to be able to see things differently and execute well. And when those seeds are planted and you start to bear fruit, then other people will look at you and your life circumstance and be like, wow, this person is just such a reality bending entity. How did they get to that next level? How were they able to just speak with such truth and confidence? How are they able to execute on this one unconventional idea and follow the trail until it became just such a prolific idea that everybody knows about it, that they become world-class athletes, that they become world-class musicians, that they become world-class influencers and entrepreneurs? And I don't mean influencers as in like social media content creators. I mean people that influence culture. I mean people that have such a compelling and vibrant frequency that they radiate out into the world that you can feel it before they even walk into the room. That is the reality that you are being called into as well, in your own respective way. However big, however small that feels, you stop pulling your punches in reality because you recognize that you are being guided in every single moment, and every single piece of guidance that's being presented to you is a synchronicity. And when you follow these synchronicities long enough because you've planted the right seeds, reality meets you halfway. Reality meets you halfway in the manifestation of your desires. And then you realize that there was never even a maze in the first place. There was never a maze in the first place. That was just your mind trying to block you from seeing through reality clearly. Reality is one big illusion. The physical illusion of solidity is not real. If you think about this even from like an atomic perspective, is that there's more empty space in atoms than there are actual physical solid material and molecules. Well, molecules are smaller or bigger than atoms, but you get my point, is that There's more empty space in atoms, and we are all made up of atoms. So if you put your hands together, you never actually touch. It only gives the sensation and the illusion that there is touch, because that's what your senses can perceive. But we are not like, we're not like a wave of particles. We are structured frequency that give the illusion of solidity. Well, you can extrapolate this kind of visualization to the same thing as the maze of manifestation. It's not that you were stuck. It's not that there was walls of resistance. It's that your mind was creating that projection, which is why it felt so difficult to overcome. But once you actually get past this, because you've reset your frequency and you've let go of the parts of you that don't see the abundance in reality, the parts of you that are so rooted in these low frequencies of lack and limitation and imposter syndrome, you let those things go, and then you realize, oh, reality is actually a playground. I can do whatever I want with it. I can create anything that I desire. All the things that seem unreasonable and unrealistic to other people are possible and inevitable for someone like me. And when that is your frequency, you literally become that reality bending entity like Neo. And then from that place, all of the success, the abundance, the money, the love that you want becomes a natural byproduct of you just playing with reality, you just being yourself. You being intentional about what you want, but carefree about how you go about it. Then you just act accordingly. You just get your mail from the mailbox. You just go to the mailbox, pull the mail out. Your reality turns into that kind of experience as well. Importance is gone. All there is just energy to apply to your reality. That's pretty much it. That's all I got for you guys. Just simply act accordingly. Let it all come to you, and recognize that even the parts of you that are being let go, it's not that you have to be resentful. It's not that you have to be self-judgmental about how you've shown up in your reality at this point. You'll learn to have love and forgiveness for even being misaligned, that maybe you didn't work hard enough, maybe you did make mistakes, etc. You'll learn to love those parts of you, and then you'll realize that the parts of you that showed up at that time were exactly how you needed to show up. And all of this will be very clear to you once you actually raise your frequency and align with a version of reality. And then you start to experience that reality. Everything kind of works itself out from there. That's pretty much it from me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.